Amazing. I see we are live. GM, everyone, as always, or good afternoon, or even good evening, depending on your time zone. Again, super excited once again to be hosting another Spellborne live stream with Ghosty. And then, of course, going to be going over a ton of updates here. I also want to make sure for those that are tuning in early, don't forget, guys, there is a space link that you guys can repost, like, comment, bookmark, all those good things. Let's run these numbers up. But I do want to check in with Ghosty first before we do get started. Ghosty, what's going on, man? How are we doing?
Good morning. Good morning. We're doing well. We have been building out a lot of things and closing a lot of partnerships and a lot of things to announce for our players. And I'm super excited about what's coming next in the next 1 or 2 months at least, because there is so much stuff that we're working on right now. I can't even you know give a grasp of what's happening in the background. But yeah, super excited about this space as well as always. Happy to have you. And yeah, how's everything going with you?
Amazing, amazing. I love it. And yes, everything's going well on my end. I myself, with Dubai happening right now, I think obviously more than ever, it's cool to see crypto Twitter still kind of being, active on the timeline. But nonetheless, I'm really excited to hear about these updates. And as always, before we get into deeper discussions, I think that's probably one of the best ways to start today's stream. So Ghost, if you don't mind, just giving us what has been some of the recent changes or updates you have for the community today?
So a lot of the updates that we are currently working on haven't either gone live or haven't been publicly shared. I will be sharing some of those in this stream. But overall, a lot of major things. So, for example, the marketplaces for items, skins, and everything are currently being tested by our community members. Then updates to the guild system, major updates to be specific, because a lot of things were requested by our players and we're working on those. And those are currently in internal testing. We are testing out move items, we are testing out monster mounts, we are testing out so many things. And overall, in the past few weeks, we've kind of slowed down because we're collecting a lot of things. And things are either 95 to 99% complete, so it's better to just complete everything and push them all together. But yeah, that's what majorly we have been working on for the past 1 or 2 weeks. Before that, there was a major performance update, so the game is much faster. It's a bit buckier, but this coming update should fix all those bugs that the previous update had introduced. And yeah, overall, it's the past 2 weeks has just been our team closely working out with the heroes, the community members that are specifically chosen to test out the game in a closed state. And overall, we've been taking feedback from them back and forth on changing, improving things here and there, testing out different major features. And overall, the feedback is very good. And we are very close to releasing some of these major features for our players.
Wow, amazing. And regarding the guild system, anything new around guilds?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we talk about guilds, the major issues that players originally had was there wasn't a lot of communication available. A lot of options available for the players or the guild members to communicate internally within the game. They had to either use Discord, or they had to, it was very difficult to find guild members in the game. Like you would have to directly text on Discord, yeah, hey, let's collect here, or hey, let's collect here and everything. So a lot of changes related to that, and a lot of backend changes to add the feature set required for guild treasuries, so that guilds can collect tokens and then distribute them using guild proposals and everything, build out full DAOs on top of that. So all those features are currently being tested. The screen that you currently see is kind of preview of what will be initially available in this update. So first thing is all about communication. So guild leaders or guild managers can send out announcements that are for the guild, and any player that is online at that moment they will receive a notification. This can be either for creating a guild meeting, or just collecting for a guild photograph and everything. And this will also be very very important for upcoming events where guild versus guild events will be happening. So that's the first thing. Second thing is improving the chat system. Third thing is improving members management for guild admins, because right now it's kind of a bit messy in the production build. But with the new version, you will be able to see which guild members are online right now, where they are. You can directly send them a friend request and everything. All those things, it should be much much easier for you to find friends in the game, for you to find guild members who can work with you together in multiple events where either you're participating with different people. So it's like team versus team battles, or either guild events where guilds would be collectively participating on a leaderboard. So that's the first thing. It's member management and communication between the guild. Then comes the cosmetics, so guild logos and guild short forms. So if you add a guild short form, all the members that are in your guild, they will have a short form attached to their name throughout the game. So any sort of leaderboards, they will be visible there, so your members can rep your guild's name. And then comes the certain other features related to the treasury, as well as guild trader system, and all sorts of different things, and overall improved user experience. Basically, it's much much easier to understand, it's much easier to access and everything. So yeah, that's the basic of what this update will be. What this update prepares for is guild traders and guild tokens. So guilds can be I think we can collectively talk about that with maybe the marketplace system, because that's kind of what it is attached to. But yeah, this is the basics of what has been improved in guilds, and all the bug fixes that were required by that were requested by our players, related to the guild chest, guild leveling, and all sorts of different things. So everything has been fixed in this update, and essentially it's kind of a ground up update where everything has been improved from the ground up, and guilds will be much much faster to use, and easier to access, easier to communicate to other guild members, and all sorts of different things in a single update.
Man, what a jam-packed, in-depth insight already. Man, appreciate it, Ghosty. And again, people are, very excited hearing this in the chat. I see a lot of people tuning in today. But look, also one thing I do want to follow up is regarding the apartments. Will we see any updates or changes around the apartment side of things?
So when it comes to apartments, we are preparing for a few things that will play a major role, and those things are currently in just an internal development. They're not even in testing yet, but they will play a major role in terms of making apartments more useful, as well as kind of adding a lot of utility to them. So these are what we call craftable furniture items. You should be able to craft different furniture items, and you should be able to trade them with other players, and these furniture items have their own utilities. So for example, when I'm in a guild, I have a direct access to the guild apartment directly from this UI, and I directly land here, and this is my guild's apartment right now, and this is entirely empty. But what we are doing to this apartment is, if I am in a guild, and uh, the guild leader, or whoever owns the apartment has designed it, I should be able to access a lot of major guild, game features within the guild department. So it's kind of all about accessibility. This can be a breeding machine, so you don't have to go to the daycare to breed your monsters, or this could be quick hospital access, kind of that increases the health of your monsters to up to 25%, not entirely, but up to 25%, and all sorts of different utilities that will be available within apartments using these furniture items. So this is one major thing that we are currently working on for apartments, and overall, This is currently being tested out. We are trying to make sure that everything that we are kind of pushing out to the production build has been thoroughly tested in the sense that it works well on its own, but it also affects the rest of the game positively. So this feature will play a major role for a lot of guilds. And this update also includes improvements to apartment renting. So that is kind of being renamed so that it's much more easier to understand. But overall, all about the accessibility, all about user experience changes, and all about basically allowing players to actually be able to use their apartments, able to use their monsters within the game efficiently.
I love this, man. Extremely well said, and I love the response too. And again, goes to the very tail end of your take right now. You mentioned the importance of the user experience. And of course, today's stream title is Spellborne versus Web3 Gaming. I'm curious, Ghosty, on what is the goal, or how have you really painted uh the type of user experience throughout the years of Spellborn being out, right? What kind of transformations or realizations have you learned along the way about curating the right user experience for your players?
I would say it's a lot of different things that we've learned from, and it's not just a single step, and it has been a journey where we have learned a lot of things. Because when you're building for both Web 2 and Web 3, you not only have to keep in mind the accessibility for traders or Web 3 players who are just there to participate in the economy of the game rather than the gameplay, but you also have to make sure that this user experience is efficient and easy to understand for players who are not directly kind of connected to the marketplaces or to the economy of the game. They're just there to play the game. So these are the two different community sets that you have to take care of. And it has been as I've said, it has been a long journey for us. A lot of learnings, a lot of improvements, a lot of changes. And our community already knows, like we've changed and improved the user experience of multiple menus, multiple features in the game. Absolutely, at least like 3 or 4 times. And these updates have usually been incremental, but at the end of the day, once the final update is pushed, the feedback is amazing. Like they're always like, this is exactly what I've been asking for, and this is exactly, this is a perfect solution for what we've wanted. So yeah, overall, this is how we have been working on in terms of improving the user experience, as well as improving how the game works overall. And it's all about accessibility. It's all about allowing the player to be able to access as much as functionality without having them move from one place to another, because at the end of the day, this is kind of a open world game. So you won't have everything available to you at a single place. You will have to travel from one place to another in the game to access different menus. And we want that journey to be fun instead of it feeling like a chore. So I would say that that's one of the major learnings for us. But in terms of comparing the game with other Web3 games, so it has been a mixed bag for a lot of games. Like a lot of games are just targeting Web 2 and then they move towards Web 3. A lot of them are targeting Web 3 and moving towards Web 2. And the problem is that if you are first targeting one set of users, and all of a sudden you start trying to move towards a second set, you're not prepared for that, because these user experiences, these actions that are present in the game, they need to be designed from the ground up, keeping in mind what your target audience is from the beginning. You can't really change those things on the fly, because that takes a lot of work. And you always see this happen with a lot of games where they start building with one game engine and then they switch to another, or they start building out a marketplace inside the game, or start working with a marketplace outside the game, and then they switch those marketplaces from time to time because they are not able to find a good solution. So it's a journey for a lot of games. And as for us specifically at Spillborn, our target has always been to target the gamers from web 2 and the traders from web 3. And I think we have done a good job in terms of creating a user experience for both. But overall, there's always space for improvements. There's always time for taking feedback, and we've been able to do that from time to time, and we have been doing that for a very very long period of time since the beginning. And it's all about communication and working with the community in terms of building out a good product.
Love this, man. Really well said, Ghosty. And just to follow up, because I'm very much curious again on just expanding this on, what has been kind of the biggest lessons you've learned about, you know, curating a user experience for a Web 2 user compared to Web 3 user? Or, like, what are some key differences or maybe even similarities between these two audiences?
If we talk about the similarities, there are quite a few. When we start talking about players who are kind of just traders, they what they do is they buy from existing players. While the players that are moving towards becoming a trader, they are grinders who start with a maybe a free to play mindset, but then once they've earned through the game, then they start participating in the game economy. And for you to be a good game, for you to be a successful game, you need to make sure that that transition is efficient, and you are not losing a lot of players throughout that transition. And for a lot of web3 games, that has been challenging. Even for us, it has been all about improving over time and making sure that the drop off rates are low and all sorts of different things. So yeah, overall I will say it's all about making sure that you're building out a good game. And in terms of talking about how different they are, there are a lot of differences in terms of how they interact and how they react to different changes in the game economy or different changes within the just the basic game design as well. But yeah, overall, it's all about how they are reacting to it. It's not that they're less interested in the game or they're less interested in the marketplaces. They both of the sets are interested in both gameplay and marketplaces, but the reaction to different changes in the game economy or game design are entirely very very different.
That's interesting. It's interesting observation. And again, for me, you mentioned something very important is like making sure that the game and the quality of the game itself is important, right? I'm curious, Ghosty, on just like first the state of Web3 gaming, right? What are your thoughts on just what's out in the market right now, especially with abstract catching a lot of attention for some of these titles, like On Chain Heroes and a few more. I'm curious just to know your thoughts on the current state of what kind of games we have out in the market.
I would say the games that are currently doing well are mostly the ones that are targeting Web3 regions. Because if we talk about the general state of just gaming in Web 2 and Web 3 combined, it's not good. Like, I think even today there were a lot of mass layoffs. I think there was, I forgot the name of the company, but they had like 300, 400 employees laid off just today. So the state of the industry overall is not good. But the games that are succeeding right now, the games that are doing well right now, are the games that are targeting the Web3 regions. The problem with those players is that they do not like long term, like, very, very long seasons, or they do not like very, very long uh, uh, play to earn, campaigns. They like short term events. So these events need to be, okay, these need to be like maybe 1 to 2 weeks long, and that's it. And the problem for games with that are targeting these players is that they have to change things every single time. Like if I am doing season 1, and then I'm doing season 2. Season 2 cannot be entirely same as season 1. I need to change a lot of things. I need to make a lot of changes. The problem with that is, as a game developer, you have to plan a lot of things in advance. And if I'm doing season 1, for example, in December, and I'm doing season 2 in March or April, I don't have enough time to make those changes for the the new season to be more entertaining for these traders, these Web3 regions. So it's very very difficult for a lot of games. Like the games that are targeting Web2 players, they are in shambles right now. To be honest, the games that are targeting Web3 regions, they're playing catch up. They're always like, what's next, what's new. And
Mm,
the problem with gaming is that it takes a lot of time to build things. Like, when most of these games that are targeting with 3 regions, they're always MMORPGs. And that's the biggest genre to build in. Like when we build something in Spellborne, when we design something, create a new feature, we not only have to take care of that feature, we have to make sure that the reaction of that feature on all the other parts that are playing in the game is positive, rather than something that creates a bug, or something that creates a way for players to kind of take advantage of the game. So overall, I would say a lot of games are playing catch up. And with abstract, you can already see like games that are targeting regions are doing well. Games that are targeting Web2 players are kind of in the middle, as this is kind of also affected by the overall industry. So with abstract itself, it's kind of the new shiny chain phenomena going on. It's a new chain. It hasn't done kind of distributed its rewards yet, so players or grinders will grind to get those that abstract experience while playing games, or while using applications on the chains.
right.
And games are the most entertaining applications out of all, so you see a lot of abstract games doing well due to that.
Right. So I love getting your opinion on these type of questions. And most importantly, you keep using this word, this reaction, right? I'm curious, obviously outside of like players saying that they had a great time playing Spellborn, what else, what specific type of feedback or response are you looking from exactly from both the Web3 side and the Web2 side of things?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
It was essentially on because I noticed you keep using the word reaction as like a just kind of an emphasis on the feedback loop. I'm curious on just like outside of players saying that they had a great time playing Spellborn, is there any type of feedback outside of that that you're looking to kind of gauge or get from both the Web3 gaming audience and Web2 side of things?
Yeah. So if we talk about when the kind of feedback that players give, usually it's always the game is very very good. The game is fun to play. The game is all sorts of different things. You can get that feedback by building out a good game, and we've received that feedback from time to time. A lot of for a lot of users in the Web3 space, Spellborn is kind of the best sort of nostalgic game that reminds them of Pokemon, or reminds them of old school monster collectors. And we've done a great job at that, and our team knows it, and we've already been working on improving that as well. But overall, the feedback that you get from both sides, it's entirely different in terms of the economy side of things. It's entirely different in terms of what's next. So when you talk about Web2 players, if you give them a game, they won't really ask for straight away ask about what's next, because for them the game is what is currently live right now. For Web3 players, the game is what will be live in the future. It's all about the expectations. It's all about what's next, what's coming next, what features are being built upon. Because Web3 is all about your not your current valuation, but your one what could be your predictive valuation in the future. So overall, the questions that we get are entirely different. So for example, a Web2 player playing Spellborn, they would be like, I'm enjoying the game right now, and I'm playing PvP. I'm interacting in my guild, and after playing the game for maybe 3 or 4 months, and if there are no updates, then they might ask a question regarding what's next in the game, because I am kind of getting bored here right now. For a Web3 user, they normally do not treat games as games. They usually kind of treat them as financial tools, or basically for a large portion they treat it as a job, because when you play games in web3, you have a high chance of earning by just having fun side by side. And overall, the reaction and the questions that we get from them is, what are the incentives and that are going to be implemented in the future, or what kind of new tools are going to be built, or what are the next features being built upon. And it's always, when they enter a Discord, they'll be straight away, what's the roadmap, instead of just looking at the product at there and then. While for a web3 player, oh sorry, a web2 player, it's all about, can I play the game right now? So it's very very different feedbacks, it's very very different interactions. Overall, both sides play, both sides have fun. It's just that one side plays in the present, one side plays in the future. So you have to handle both. As as a game developer, you still have to not only fix current features but also build out new features in advance so that you can launch them in the future.
Do you prioritize, for example, like you mentioned as well with abstract gaming, or gaming in general, maybe right now is like for those that are catered to the degens, right? Those are the games that are doing extremely well. Um, do you feel like there's a priority between either choosing the Web3 side of the game or the Web2 side of the game? Like, which is more important, or do both carry the same amount of significance?
In my opinion, both carry the same amount of significance, primarily because it's the same thing. You're building currently, but you're also building for the future. Because if you're building a game that has a live economy and where players can earn, you're taking extra burden about what will be happening in the future, and you have to test a lot of things in advance. And I would say both kind of users, both kind of players have a major role in the game economy to play. As players who are trading, or players who are looking for next features, they are trading in the game, and they are setting prices based on what will be next. While players who are from the web2 side, they will be setting prices based on what is currently usable for the items right now. So it's all about the that differentiation that creates a good active market, where web2 players would be able to sell to web3 regions, or and so on. So when we talk about targeting regions, as I've said, they do not like long term seasons. They do not like games that are live for maybe a one year, 2 years, and so on, because what they need is a deadline, as they're not treating it as a game. They're always, it's always treated as a financial tool, even if it's not. Because at the end of the day, when there's a market inside a game where you can trade these items for cryptocurrencies, all of a sudden that kind of becomes a financial tool for them. And it is for a lot of them, primarily because of the conditions of their countries, or their own currencies. So overall, you can't really stop that. You have to embrace it. And web3 games that are targeting regions, they do embrace it to the full effect. The problem for them is that they are always playing catch up. So you have to build out things in advance. When your current season is, for example, if your season 2 is live right now, you cannot focus on fixing bugs in the season 2. You're already building out for season 3 that will go live in maybe 3 months, because you need that time to build out things in advance. You need that time to test out things in advance. And that's why you see a lot of web3 games have a lot of bugs in production. Like it's not, this is not common in web2, where they're currently, when they launch, their next goal is to fix out all the bugs rather than work on new features. But for a Web3 game, if they launch a single season, their next goal is to build out for the next season rather than fix the current season.
I love this, man. And again, appreciate every in-depth response you're providing here, Ghosty. Really quickly, I see we hit the 30-minute mark, and again, guys, much love to everyone here in the chat. And by the way, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or you want to ask Ghosty here anything, feel free to leave it in the chat there below. But yes, man, and again, Ghosty, going very deep and heavy here on just kind of, I wouldn't say exposing the wrongs or rights of Web3 gaming, but again, just addressing what is working, what isn't working. Um, and this is something that I've also wondered from now, especially with Spellborne being out for some quite time now, is building a game that bridges traditional MMO RPG elements with blockchain technology tends to be very ambitious. Um, what have been the most successful areas of Spellborne, and how do you think you are shaping the way of Web3 gaming is being approached now?
I, it is a huge job if we talk about when you're building out a MMORPG. Even if you just talk about just building out a MMORPG game, you're taking a lot of work. But once you add open markets, once you add markets where our players can trade these items, now all of a sudden you have a headache of managing those expectations and those prices of those secondary markets. And it has been, I would say, an interesting journey. And we do have a lot of things planned for our players in terms of marketplaces, in terms of what's going to be available for them in the game. So for example, a lot of the decisions that we take are either focused on making sure that our holders get the best, or our players get the best, rather than just focusing on making sure that the next feature is already live. So for example, you know our monsters, I think they were minted 2 years ago, probably two. But overall, when we talk about our monsters collection, a lot of our holders requested that they be able to use them as mounts in the game. So it's something that is a cosmetic change. But as a game developer, once you have released a collection in the Web3 space, it now becomes your job to make sure that you're listening to that feedback and then acting upon it. And what we did was, we started working on monster mounts at side by side while working on these features, and those would also probably go live like in a month or two. So overall, I would say when we talk about these interactions as a game developer, and when we talk about the learnings from the Web3 space specifically, is that you cannot expect anything in advance. You cannot expect success. You cannot expect failure, because, for example, when our first public test, I would say, was live before the monsters mint, um, the the first 2 days were actually very very low. Like, we received like 500 players around that time, and that wasn't enough. Like, for us, it was like, okay, because we weren't really marketing it too much. uh, so we our expectations kind of lowered. But the third day, we all of a sudden picked up. Like, we had a lot of content creators cover the game on their own, and the market was as dead as it could be, and we got a lot of players. So this is something that you don't really expect in Web 2. And in Web 3, these kind of things can happen, and it's much more, I would say, surprising. Like, the market surprises you with a lot of things. And it's also true with what this design decisions you're making in the game. So for example, I could build out a feature. I could build out an NPC that gives you this item, and I could test it out. I could have a small group of testers test it out thoroughly, that there are no exploits and everything related to it. But I don't know what will happen until it is actually live in the game, in the production phase. Like, I really don't know, what the reaction will be until that point. So it's a lot of times it's a surprise for you as a game developer, and you're just hoping that it's a positive surprise rather than be a negative surprise. If it's a negative surprise, then you have a headache for the next 2 or 3 days to fix out those exploits. But yeah, that's how, that's how the journey has been for us. And I would say for a lot of Web3 games, I would say most Web3 games, as I do, kind of keep on checking on a lot of popular games in the Web3 space, on what they're building, how they're reacting to the uh, community's own reactions. So yeah, it's fun to an extent, but it kind of becomes a headache from time to time.
Yeah, no, I can definitely see that. And, I myself hosting other gaming brands, I tend to hear a similar response to what you just shared. And, to follow up, Ghosty, just curious again on Whenever I see gaming projects fall off or they start to lose steam, um, I feel like 99% of the time, especially in such scenarios where, let's say, the treasury, right, the funds start to run out, there's not enough resources to push a game, right? What do you think are some of the most common pitfalls for gaming projects in Web3 right now?
Pitfalls, as you mentioned, the first thing is funds. So, like for Web3 games specifically, you don't really know, what the end point is. As a Web3 project, you can never stop building. It's always about what's next, and there is going to be a time when you will, you know, like finish up your funds. So either you raise a new round, or you work towards that in advance and become revenue positive. And revenue positive is something that is, you know no project is really thinking about, like even in the starting days, even in the middle days, even in their launch schedules, because in terms of the revenue that you generate in the web3 space, at the moment, like if you're doing regular purchases, like opening up regular purchases, it won't be that efficient, it won't be that effective. You will sell, like you'll do maybe a revenue of 25-30,000 per month, which is good, and which puts you like in the top 5% of total games that are available in the entire gaming industry. But it doesn't put you anywhere in the web3 space, because most of the revenue that games generate are from mints, are from new collection mints. And that's why, whenever you see a project doing multiple mints together in a short period of time, you know that you can easily guess that in future they don't really expect to make revenue. This is kind of secret from a game developer. Like for us, we never really did that. We never really did like multiple mints together within weeks of each other, because that just feels like a lot of value extraction without providing a lot of value back to the players. So overall, it's very very important that, as a game developer in the Web3 space, you from the beginning you learn how to make revenue. It's different from how it works in web 2 to an extent, because now the players will be much more pickier with what they pay, but when they pay they will pay a lot. So it's very very different. Like in the web 2 space, you'll have 5% paying for the rest 95%. In the web 3 space, you can have 1% paying for the rest 99%, and you still can make a lot of revenue. So the common pitfalls would be, first, not knowing how to make revenue, not having a PMF, not having a community that runs behind a project, and these are all, like monumental tasks to work upon, and they take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort. And as a game developer, as this is something I've said before, in the web3 space, not only you are a game developer, you're also a marketer, you're also playing the role of a publisher, you're playing everything, you're self-publishing yourself, because there are no web3 publishers. Chains can act as web3 publishers, but they don't really, do their jobs well. So overall, I would say it's a lot of burden for the Web3 games, because now they have to market as well. They have to build out their product as well, and that's primarily the reason why they run out of funds. Like either they spend too much on marketing, or they spend too much on smart contracts, which are expensive as hell, or you just taking a lot of time to build out the game because you're always taking feedback. And that's also one of the common pitfalls that we fell into earlier in our development, where we took a lot of feedback and we kept on changing things, a lot of things, from time to time. And these were a lot of changes within weeks of each other. Like a lot of things were scratched, a lot of ideas were scratched, and in that period, I would say we wasted funds. But from that point, we learned a lot of things about how to save money, how to be efficient. And at this point, we're probably the most efficient, one of the most efficient teams in the Web3 space, where we are able to build out and push out weekly updates without having to spend a lot of money, primarily because of our custom engine, primarily because our team has a lot of kind of experience in building out indie games of low budgets while making sure that they have a high quality. So it's a lot of things that comes from experience, that comes from just actually losing things, actually doing things in production rather than just something you can read upon. So overall, it is a journey, and it is a lot of these are a lot of things that you have to learn from time to time by making mistakes. And it's that, a lot of teams, they don't really end up learning from their mistakes, and that's why you see a lot of studios shut down. Like whenever I see a studio run out of money, uh, there's always a point where you can see where they spent most of their money, and usually it's a lot of in the marketing. Like they spend less towards development, and they spend a lot of it in the marketing, thinking that they will be able to raise a lot of funds from a specific mint that they're targeting around that marketing. And if that mint fails, it's just situation is dead. So for a lot of times it's either 100 or 0. While if you look at in the web 2 space, it's usually like, even when you're marketing, you're only giving 50% of your funds. You're keeping the rest of the money for future updates. In web 3 space, that's not something I've seen teams do, and that's kind of one of the bigger mistakes that I've seen teams do from time to time, in terms of losing funds, or in terms of just shutting studios down.
Really well said, Ghosty. And again, more of the reasons why. Again, I love hearing your thoughts on this. Um, your first one that you mentioned is like, if you see collection after collection after collection, yes, it is a great. I would say Web3 is a great way to kind of go for raising funds per se. A great place to go to raise funds, but specifically in gaming, do gaming projects really need that many collections? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's another thing. Like when you're launching a collection, uh, if you're not planning the utility in advance, and you just keep minting new and new collections, you'll end up with so many NFTs that have no use. Like you're just and then the players get confused. Like if I would give an example of maybe Clonex. They had so many collections, and at the end of the day, none of those collections ended up having any utility. So that's kind of one of the best examples I can give out of all the things, where they did so many mints from time to time. Like whenever they did a mint, there was a mint to follow up that mint within weeks or within a month. And I usually feel that unless and until the project is mentioning the utility in advance, and that utility is something that cannot be changed in future, and that they can keep that promise within that time period, then it's good. But most of the time, that's not the case, because these projects are just trying to raise as much money as possible during that time period where they have that hype, because they know the shiny product phenomena in web3, they won't be able to get that marketing back, and they won't be able to get those funds back, like the potential revenue that they would be able to raise in future. So it's all about making sure that uh, the kind of utility that you're promising is there. Otherwise, you'll see a lot of times teams mint out NFTs, and after that you'll see in a devlog that we're kind of now thinking about the utility. So they didn't really plan anything in advance. They just created a collection and they minted it out. And usually, it's a low effort collection as well. But since it's a game, or since it's a gamified platform, uh, it somehow can be kind of built into it. So a lot of times, I can mention like at least 5 projects, 6 projects that launched pets or launched animals into their game, and they minted collections. But what is the utility? Like for our monsters, you're battling them and like using them in battles, but what else is the utility? So that's something that a lot of teams have to learn in the future. Like if you're minting things, like it's a great way to raise revenue. Like mints are probably the best way to raise revenue. But the problem is that you have to make sure that you're able to keep those promises in advance. For us, we haven't been able to do that for a lot of reasons, primarily because we minted our apartments very very early on in the development phase. But yeah, that was kind of a mistake which we're working on, and which we should be able to provide that utility maybe in a month or so. All the promises that we've made should be completed within this quarter. So overall, that's kind of the clarity that holders want, players want. And overall, I do feel like projects that are selling or minting out multiple collections within a short period of time, it's not a good look for the project in the long term. It's not a good look for the team. It's also not a good vibe for the community. Like, why are they minting so many collections? Was
Mm,
was the first collection not enough, or what?
right. Yeah, no, and very much agreed to what you're saying, and this is why I raise these questions is more so to kind of address what's wrong with these type of moves. But look, I know we're also in the heading in the last 10-ish or so minutes of today's stream. I do want to again thank the audience for tuning in today. Ghosty, anything in particular that you wanted to share around Spellborn that we didn't get to cover today?
In terms of features for Spellborn, so we have marketplaces. Marketplaces, I did show a bit in the beginning. Essentially, this marketplace includes items, skins, and tools. Tools covers almost everything: fishing rods, mining kits, and furniture items, and so on, emojis, all the cosmetics, loading screens, and everything. So this marketplace will be available to players who have a Stellar Pass subscription, and this does not require them to mint anything, but it does do transfers on chain. So, for example, if I'm selling some items, the items are sold off chain, but the bond tokens are transferred on chain. And this marketplace is currently being tested by our players, our heroes to be specific. There is another marketplace for monsters, which is purely on chain. So whenever you list a monster, you mint it side by side, and then it becomes an NFT that is tradable and so on. So that marketplace has been internally tested. The UI revamp is currently going on, which should be completed within this week or so. So that should also be available to heroes. I think a few heroes have also tested out staking, and then what else? There is a new event called Enchanted Weekends that we will be adding in line with the double XP week, where players would be able to have a higher chance of catching an enchanted monster for a weekend. If this event does well, then we do have a event for guilds where multiple guilds can, like, all the guilds can just battle against each other in terms of having a leaderboard where they catch the most amount of enchanted monsters or rare monsters during that week. And each and every guild member kind of helps the guild collect points. So if the weekend event does well, then we might add that guilds event as well. And what else? Fishing is currently being improved upon based on heroes' feedback. And once that is done, we will have a fishing event as well. There is one more event that replaces the Wheel of Fortune, which will also include three new monsters that are inspired from the best of IPs in Web3, and also, kind of just replaces and is kind of a more transparent version of the Wheel of Fortune. So multiple events coming right now. A lot of them are currently in testing. A lot of them are currently being either um, internally tested or just being tested by our heroes. Marketplaces are currently being tested. Monster mounts are currently being internally tested. We have finished the assets for that. What else? I'm probably missing out at least 5 to 10 things. Let me just check my notes once again.
No worries, no worries. I know it's a lot to unpack here. But as you go over your notes, Ghosty, again, guys, I want to remind the audience there are going to be plenty more streams, maybe even potential spaces in the future once again. But the objective of these streams is to highlight what is next, what's going on at the moment with Spellborn, but of course, the future as well. But yes, Ghosty, I'll toss it right back to you if you do have the notes ready.
Yeah, absolutely. So, in terms of what's next, so yeah, something that we should talk about in depth. So, for the guild system, as I was mentioning initially, guilds can, in future, the guild token needs to have some sort of utility in the game, and that utility is kind of attached with the guild traders. Guild traders, or just traders, are NPCs that you will find on routes. So currently there are three routes in the game, and the problem that we are trying to solve is that for a lot of players they don't want to go back to the nearest town. So for example, the only town that currently has a marketplace is Yorokobi. The next town will be Sokashi, which will be, so for example, if you're in the Mondo Swamp, it will be at least three more locations from now to reach East Sogashi. So it's very very far, and it's a lot of distance for the players to travel. So what we are doing is we are adding NPCs within those routes, and these NPCs can be something that guilds can bid upon. So multiple guilds can, and these will be blind bids. So you send out a bid, and you don't know who is going to win until the end, and you don't know who else has bid upon it. And essentially, once a guild has won a bid during that single week, uh, the any player that interacts with the NPC will see a marketplace where they can buy stuff, and where they can even mint new skins, mint new items, and so on, using the guild tokens of that specific guild that has won those, the won the bid for that NPC. And this would allow a lot of guilds to become trading guilds, where they kind of take over certain NPCs for a longer period of time, where the NPCs see a lot of traffic, and they can generate a lot of revenue for the treasury, a lot of utility for the players that are members of their guilds, and essentially provide accessibility to each and every player of the game as well. So this way both the parties are satisfied, as well as it provides a lot of volume to the marketplaces, where now the players are not forced to go back to the towns or the nearest town. So different NPCs in different routes will have of course different different routes that reach out to them. So this way the blind bid system will be very very much effective for multiple guilds to kind of generate revenue. Guilds that are not good in terms of having the best players, they can still kind of bid for trading, so that they can keep control over the game economy to an extent. Like if a guild is able to bid all the traders and win all of them, they basically have the control over the game economy for an entire week. And that's the sort of things that are coming for guilds next, where guilds will be able to first of all participate in events where guild versus guild, in a shiny or enchanted hunting event, in terms of leaderboards. And then utility for guild tokens and guild traders are coming into the game, with the marketplaces and all sorts of different things. So a lot of things for players who are members of guilds, a lot of things for players who are not members of guilds but playing as a single player. And a new version of the PvP league system is also currently being discussed upon by heroes. uh, to be honest, this is something that I should mention, that the heroes have been very very actively involved in terms of giving us ideas for the past at least 2 to 3 weeks, where they've given so many ideas that we have daily discussions within the team on what idea we should implement. And some of those ideas are so good for the game economy that players will be surprised about how many things are coming, and how many things are going live in the next maybe 3 to 4 weeks. Overall, I would say we are positive on all ends. There might be 1 to 2 weeks of delays here and there, but overall we should be able to cover everything in this quarter at least. And in terms of open economy, in terms of features for guilds, guild tokens maybe not, but guild traders should go live as well very very soon, as well as all the events that I've been mentioning. So fishing event, shiny hunting event, guild wars, what else? Events, the new slots event that replaces the Wheel of Fortune. And someone is asking when is the next Soul Exchange. So the next event that replaces the Wheel of Fortune also has three monsters, and you can consider it as some sort of Soul Exchange. You won't really have to free a lot of monsters. What you'll have to do is participate in PvP. So now the targets change, because uh, the Soul Exchange events have caused about 2 million monsters to be burnt. And we know that this interaction is very very positive. So now we are testing it towards PvP and seeing how much positive effect has it for the game and the player base.
Whew, man, what a jam-packed response once again, guys. Um, many more updates, of course, to come. But Gosi, I appreciate all the insight once again in today's stream. Just one more question your way, just more of like a piece of advice for newer game devs. What is for developers that are looking to venture into Web3 gaming? What's one piece of advice you'd offer based on your journey with Spellborne?
I would say take feedback, but take it with a grain of salt, and listen to your community, but always make sure that once you have taken that feedback, you discuss it internally before even thinking about what the next step should be. Because at the end of the day, you want to listen to your community, you want to build out a good product, and in the Web3 space. The best way to build out a good product is listening to your community, but you want to make sure that you get the right ideas, and that was would be the major piece of advice I have for most game developers. And second is get revenue. Like, you don't want to rely on just single-sided mints. You want regular revenue, regular in-game purchases, and so on. Even if you're selling a single purchase game, even better. But if it's a open market game, then you want to make sure that you generate revenue from the get-go, so that you don't really have those points where you run out of money and you have to shut down your studio, as this is the mistake that most game developers in the Web3 space make.
That is extremely sound advice. I'll probably be sharing that with newer teams that I get across. But Gosi, like I said earlier, thank you again, once again, for allowing us to come onto these streams and talk all about Web3 gaming and, of course, the future of Spellborn as well. Guys, we'll probably look to wrap things up right here, right now. Shout out to everyone here in the chat. Don't forget, plenty of more streams. If you haven't tried out Spellborn already, please go ahead and do so. But yes, go see it. We'll close things out right here. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I wish everyone a beautiful rest of their day, night, afternoon, and we will see you guys next time. Have a beautiful one. Cheers and peace out.